Y'all know what it is. It's your boy, back again, to even suffer more pain through this horrible place we call life. Hey guys, welcome back to Javon 16. I am your host Javon, and today we have a brand new video. So our benchmark suite today, and today we'll be testing out 8 gigabytes of RAM and single channel memory running on a PC with modern titles. Last time I tested 4 gigabytes, and you know, 4 gigabytes surprised me. It ran a lot better than what I thought it would run like, but hey, let's move up to 8, considering people say that 8 is probably the minimum of today's standards. Once again, we're using for the test bench, we're using the i3 10105. The clock speed is going to be practically 4.2 gigahertz the whole time. It's 4 cores and 8 threads. We are using 8 gigabytes of RAM, single channel memory, and speed of 2667 megahertz. And every game here that will be played will be on an SSD once again. We also have an SSD for the boot drive. We are using the RS Vega 56 as well, 8GB VRAM graphics card. I do have it overclocked to 1600 megahertz. The memory clock is 875 and the power limit is set to plus 29. Helps out a bit. Definitely helps out a bit. Now, I'm going down so far, I may even do 1 gigabyte of RAM. I'm kidding. I'm not doing that. Nonetheless, let's get into some benchmarks and let the suffering begin. First up, we have GTA 5, and let me tell you right now, this is the best this is going to get. This performance, it's the best you are going to see this whole video. Today we're running at 1440p with a very high preset of MSA AA times 2. The game is running very well, obviously, because it's an old game, the oldest game on the list. It will handle it, even though that is only running with single channel memory, which I do not recommend in 2024. Single channel memory is not the way to go. Your 1% lows are going to be crap. But this is an old game, so it doesn't really matter. This one handles it quite well. GTA 5 always runs well, as I keep saying. There's not much to say. Once your GPU is powerful enough, a Plague Tale Requiem will run on anything, basically. It doesn't use much VRAM or RAM, ever, in any game. But yeah, with 8 gigabytes of RAM once again, this one will also be playable at 1080p medium with the resolution optimized at ultra quality. We were getting over 50 FPS on average once again. Those 1% lows were closer to 30, but hey, it wasn't below yet. That's a plus, right? I don't think we received any stuttering in this game either. It kind of ran quite smooth. Obviously, the frame rate drops in this area because of how demanding it is. But for the most part, I think this one was a very great experience once again. A Plague Tale Requiem runs really good, man.
His mother said to try to exhaust him. Be brave, sorcerer. Your fight is far from over.
Your mother's going to wonder where we are.
It's been a long road. You have the right to stretch your legs.
Yes.
Alicia! Look at that.
A castle.
What do you see? All right then. Time to run. You know you're gonna sweat like a hog.
I am sweating like a hog.
It's good for you. I like your new home. It's a castle. All right.
Now, with the Marvel Spider-Man test, here is where we ran into the most issues in the game. As you can see, what was that, bro? At 1080p medium with the FSR quality preset, 1% lows of 1 FPS. Yeah, because of the lack of RAM, our CPU had to go into double time, and I mean it was working overtime. So in areas where my CPU would not have been a bottleneck at 40 FPS because of the lack of RAM, it now is a bottleneck at 40 FPS. So now it's working extra hard, which is causing the frame rate. This is medium settings. I can get this type of thing on the very high preset. Very high runs over 60, and this is FSR quality. And yeah, as you can see, the frame, oh my gosh, that, oh, that's not great.
Yes. Sorry. Yes. I'm dealing with a personal issue. I'll be in soon. Promise. Better wrap this up quick then get to my real job.
Very surprising Horizon Forbidden West ran. Not gonna lie, this was a welcome surprise with only 8 GB of RAM, dude. At 1080p on the low preset with FSR quality, the game did run, but it ran abysmally. Because once again, we ran into that CPU issue because with the lack of RAM. And if you're wondering why my RAM isn't maxed out, I have a software called a memory duct, which kind of cleans the RAM every once in a while once it stopped being used. So that kind of keeps, I have it like to 90%, so it's probably gonna hit about 7 gigs and then constantly keep resetting itself. That keeps it from completely being consumed, which helps out a lot. But that's why the RAM is being fully utilized, if that's what you're wondering. But yeah, as you can see with this, the CPU is once again being hammered like never before at 30 frames, which is crazy to me. But once again, it shows you this one, I actually will say I don't think it's playable. Not, to be fair, neither was Marvel Spider-Man Remastered. That was terrible too. That was even worse.
Not happy to see me?
And next up we have the Callisto Protocol, which runs, you know, decently well, I suppose. Here, it definitely struggles once again because of the 8 GB of RAM, but with 1080p on the high preset with FSR quality, we were averaging over 60 FPS once again. The 1% lows were crazy, and we were getting stutters again now. This game does not stutter in its current state, so with the 8 GB of RAM, expect stuttering. Dual channel RAM helps out so much in today's state, it is crazy, dude. But yeah, if you have single channel RAM with 8 GB, you can play the Callisto Protocol, but it will not be a smooth experience. Anything crazy happens, expect stutters, man. It may make it unplayable in some areas. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was also a welcome surprise considering how demanding this damn game is. At 1080p low with the high textures and FSR quality, the game was averaging over 40 FPS on average, which is nice considering, like I said, this is one of the most demanding areas of the game and we can only use 8 GB of RAM. it does. I mean, like when I play this area, I'm using like 12 or 13 gigs of RAM, dude. It's crazy. But hey, with 8, this actually was still playable. I didn't see too many frame drops either, so I think this one was a smooth experience for the most part. I don't know what happens when you have to load into the other worlds though. That crap's probably going to be quite painful. But other than that, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart seems fine with 8 gigabytes of RAM. At 1080p low with FSR quality, Forspoken definitely showed these Marvel Spider-Man effect once again, showing that even with, even if you're running on the low settings, that CPU usage is going to get throttled hard, man, simply because you lack the RAM to run the game. To be fair, the game still is running quite well here, and I am in a combat scenario right now, so it can't get probably any worse, except for if you use her other spells like fire and stuff, then you're just being crazy. But other than that, we are getting over an average over 30 FPS, so hey, this is playable with 8 gigabytes of RAM. I just don't recommend 8 gigabytes of RAM in 2024, guys. This is still surprising that this is playable though. I would assume it even gives you a warning saying you need at least 16 to run the game. But hey, 8 gigabytes does manage to get the job done, I suppose. I was actually very worried for this one, and my worries were warranted. With Resident Evil 4 Remake at 1080p with the balance preset, that 1% low is already at 3 FPS. That does not bode well. Once again, the CPU issue is once again a thing where my CPU is working overtime. Listen, it's only 4 cores and 8 threads. When you have 8 gigabytes of RAM and the game requires more, you're going to feel the burn of this game, dude. You will. You definitely will. Other than that though, it does seem playable, but I mean the stutters in certain areas, like, oh my gosh, what? It can get really bad at times. Obviously when zooming in, definitely an FPS dropper. It's not the greatest, but it runs. Final Fantasy VII Remake. is gonna run fine. It ran fine at 4 gigabytes, well, obviously not fine, but at 1080p high, the game will run way better than it did with 4 gigs. But it ran with 4 gigs, so I knew no matter what, 8 gigabytes of RAM would be fine. Once again, those 1% loads are due to it being single channel memory. Would definitely help if I had dual channel. Even if I had two 4 gig sticks, would definitely help the 1% loads. But other than that, this is still gonna run at over 60 FPS the whole time.
Have fun.
Freeze! Move and we shoot! Go. Let's go. Drop the weapon! You got this. Yeah, what he said. You're coming with us. Can't get around it. That's that. Not bad.
And finally we've added a new one to the benchmark streak. It's Assassin's Creed Mirage at 1080p high. The game is once again playable, but I did notice once again the stutters because we only have 8 gigabytes of RAM. Also, once again the CPU is heavily impacted, which is the constant story of this entire video. Which is kind of why I wanted to wait till I got a better CPU in the long haul, but I was like, whatever, right? It works for the most part, but 8 gigabytes of RAM will have detriments to your system. It will. This is a lower end tech channel. I do lower end stuff, so most likely this is going to affect you all as well. 8 gigabytes of RAM is the bane of your existence. Now, do I think overall conclusion time, 8 gigabytes of RAM is not enough in 2024. You can get away with some games, but when you play these major titles like these Sony exclusives coming to PC, it's going to be rough. Hard times all around, unless, especially if you don't have dual channel, it's just single channel, it won't be a great experience nonetheless. But as you can see, Assassin's Creed still averaging 55 FPS is pretty good. I'm not using FSR at all either. So with FSR, we would go over 60, and believe me, with more than 8 gigs of RAM, that will run way better. But once again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one.